Well, hello. Welcome back to the Kingsway podcast.
Hey.
As you can tell, we're back at it.
Here we are.
Stoked to be talking to you and excited to kind of continue the conversation as we learn to love to learn, and learning is loving others.
I think you forgot a couple of lovings.
Yeah, gosh.
Definitely one learn.
As we love to learn, and we are continuing to. I don't know why I always struggle with that sentence. But you're here.
Write it down next
here.
time.
I need to get this plastered on the walls. I know that we kind of did a little unstructured week last week to kind of catch you up and remind you that we're still here and that we love you. And this year's been an exciting adventure for all of us. And let's continue that conversation of being a living display of fruit. But I wanted to have a specific conversation now. And this is one that I've been wanting to have probably for about a month as kind of things have kind of come to the conclusion. And I'm trying to ask bigger questions. I think at the end of the year, I always kind of naturally do that where you just kind of ask bigger questions.
That makes sense.
Kind of boil down the year and go like, well, what am I going to do when I turn the page? Am I just going to burn this year? Like, am I just going to start over?
Yeah.
And so the question has been beating in the back of my mind that has been kind of getting my heart flowing. And maybe I just need to start with something. No, we're just going to go into this.
Hit it.
It's just been there. I think it's the question of where's Jesus been in this year? Like, where's Jesus at?
Yeah.
And I know for some of you, like you maybe go like pain and suffering side of it. I know that that's a real question. I'm not trying to leap over that. That's not necessarily what I'm asking with this question. I'm more asking of like, where would Jesus be? What would Jesus be doing? If Jesus was in COVID season, like how would he respond? And like, what would he choose to do? And that question I have found to be dismantling to some of my pre-ideas of what I thought. I found it to be hard on my faith at times. It definitely has like almost torn down some tenets and some of the things that I previously would have said were untouchable. I want to be careful because through this discussion, I know we're going to be real, and that's what I always love. I love about our discussions because both of us, we have PK backgrounds at times. Where both of us have some homeschool background. Both of us, grew up in the church. Both of us love Jesus. Both of us served on staffs and volunteered large chunks of our lives. Both of us have now gone to the same college for a certain time. And both of us have seen how hard this year has been to navigate. And so I don't want to devalue the church. I don't want to devalue what the church is and how it works. I don't want to devalue that it is the bride of Christ. But I know one of the values here at Kingsway is the message never changes, but the method has a shelf life. And I don't know if this year has ever brought that value more to the front and center than, what I mean? Where I'm just kind of like, what is the shelf life of the current method of what the message has been brought by? And this year has tested the flexibility, the durability, and I think the functionality of what has been the method for my lifetime of how church has been done. And it's asked questions like, can it be done a different way? Should it be done a different way? Is it sustainable a different way? Would Jesus be online? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, truthfully. Like, and that is a gut-wrenching discussion because I know that there are volatile emotions that can come up with this.
Oh, no doubt.
And deep, even depression and sadness then can come with the thought of losing something like in person as being the main thrust of how we do church.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess I want to start by just saying, like, how does that question hit you when you think about trying to find Jesus, or where would Jesus be, or where has Jesus been in this year? Like, what does that make you feel maybe first? And where do you feel like, if you have an answer, do you feel like you can identify some things? What are your thoughts?
I think what immediately comes to mind, not as an answer in itself, but is thinking about like the thought that, like, you know, if you've grown up in the church at all, not even grown up, but if you've attended church for a while, you know, we use this language of Jesus or God or the Holy Spirit being with us all times.
Yep.
Which
John
is
15.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's biblical.
It's
in the Bible. It's, you know, it's something that we all kind of logically and consciously believe. That doesn't mean it always reaches our emotional or our, you know, mental core. And that's something that, like, I don't know, I think has been maybe kind of healthy for this year, as just like asking that question of just, where is Jesus, and trying to be intentional about looking for him in the everyday, because the everyday in some ways has changed so much, but in other ways everything's become so mundane.
Yep.
You know, we haven't been able to do like go on any adventures or like go places or do things. And so it can seem like every day is the same as the day before, more than it ever has been.
Yes.
And so maybe that question is like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe that question is like more healthy now than it ever has been, of just like being intentional about looking for Jesus in the little mundane things that we don't even think about being spiritual or.
And I love that you're bringing that up, because I think, you know, my brain goes to like the giant shifts and like the major things that probably Jesus wants to, and you're literally going like, I think it's almost more the minutia of your faith that's been tested as much as the drastic changes of like not having church. It's like your daily routines now are, you're going to have to literally depend on your routines in your daily life. Your disciplines, your faith is coming from your choices on a daily.
I think even back to one of the earlier episodes that we did, and talking about like just like the specific, I think it was around the time that you started the Pause series. Like, what do we want to start now when we have more time than ever, that we want to continue when things go back to normal or the new normal kind of settles in? And I hope that a lot of us found the time useful for starting some of those routines of, like, you know, reading, you know, it sounds so churchy and so simple, but reading your Bible more than you ever have, or spending more time in prayer, or finding, you know, spirituality or finding Jesus in spending time with your family. And
I even think about this podcast as one of those things that we started out this year thinking it might be a good idea, but then very quickly realizing this is a key to the success of this year. And it had nothing to do with like the content. I felt like it was the consistency and then the availability to be able to talk to everybody, no matter what changed or happened. You know, we knew that we could produce this. We could provide a way to have a conversation, to create a community of sorts that would be able to have discussions that maybe couldn't happen necessarily in a format that Sunday mornings would even provide, even if we were in person. And it very quickly became like we need to do this. And I saw the value in it, but very quickly I was like, oh, this needs to happen. Like, this is a need. Like, this is a healthy thing every week. And maybe it hasn't felt maybe that impactful to you, but I know for me personally, the podcasts that I listen to on a weekly basis, or the things that I you know, listen to like this style of thing, have been a lifeline at times to me. The Bible Project stuff and the Holy Post. I've really enjoyed several different podcasts that have, you know, Exploring My Strange Bibles, an old one, but Tim Mackey, but I still go back and listen to some of those. And then on and on and on. I could go over, but I think that type of, when you have time and you're learning to put these routines, having those good things to
there's just a consistency and a grounding to it that it kind of keeps you from going insane.
And so not to cause too much like I don't want this to be divisive in any way. I really want this to be a discussion. And I really would love to see comments. You know, feel free to reach out at Kingsway Mo and write us an email if you have any questions, or put a comment in there. We'd love to respond back. But like, is the church going online, Jed?
Maybe. I mean, it definitely seems like at the very least online will become much more necessary than it ever has been. I think for the last 20 years, there's been a shift towards that, where people are, especially, I mean, obviously larger churches are, putting an emphasis on their online services and making sure that they're providing something quality. But I think up to this point, it's been for the most part, some churches have been. I know Judah Smith did the
church home,
yeah,
where they was right before that,
where they've been trying to do more of a consistent online church idea, and not just where I think most churches have found themselves and where we found ourselves, where it's well, what if our members are sick and can't make it? What if they're traveling? And providing a way so that they can still connect even when they can't be in the building.
Yep.
I think that's been the overarching idea for the majority of people up until now.
It's a catch-all for those that can't be there.
Exactly, yeah.
But they shifted that.
Everybody shifted that, yeah. I think there's a distinct possibility that some type of large gathering weekly service will shift to an online thing. I think that has to be supported by some sort of in-person meeting,
small groups, monthly thing, something,
house churches, something like that.
I agree with that.
I don't think you can lose that and still be.
I don't think effective. I don't think it'll. I think it's like watching Netflix together.
Yeah.
You're eventually going to want to be in the room and talk about it.
Oh, no doubt.
You know what I mean? Reddit threads can only go so far.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I would not be surprised if the kind of weekly time of worship with a sermon idea went online, and if that shifted dramatically to even something else that fit an online format better.
So here's my next question. This is the controversial one, and I'm really curious because you're 10 years younger than I am. Is this okay? Is this healthy?
I won't say it's unhealthy. I don't know. The only thing that I really worry about is people leaning into it too much,
right?
Yeah. And where it becomes kind of the only way.
Yep.
That the only sort of church community
that can exist.
I do think, because I will never knock a church ever. I think
coming all forms and stuff.
Exactly. And I'm not even talking about a specific church, but the idea of gathering with like-minded people who also believe that Jesus provides life, and who are just trying to follow him the best that they can. That gathering, I think, is vital to the life of a Christian.
I'd agree with that 100%.
And so I don't think that, that's what worries me is somebody thinking that this online church is a good substitute for that.
Yeah.
And not finding ways to supplement that with, like we were saying, some kind of in-person.
So let me give you some framework maybe to think about this, and maybe this will help us kind of clarify a conversation.
Because
I'm asking these questions not because I don't have some sort of answers, because I have some too, but I'm very curious of yours. I've been using this scale to kind of talk through what this year I felt like has been really navigating, and that is the ideal of what we would want to do.
Sure thing, yeah.
Versus the reality of where we are.
Yeah.
And so there's always going to be an ideal. Always. You're like, that would be best case scenario, right? But then there's the reality of where we're at. And a lot of times we feel like we have to, we're letting go of the ideal to live in reality. And there's always the dreamer and the one that wants to go, no, we got to press towards ideal. We got to press towards ideal. We got to press towards ideal. And then there's always the person that's going, but if we live in reality, that's where the impact's at. Yeah. That's where the impact and that's where real people are.
Yeah.
And so we can't always just be dreaming in the clouds when in reality people aren't ready to change, right?
Yeah.
And so I wonder though, if we're watching this shift, is online the ideal way to do church, resources wise, the ideal of direct, consistent, availability of communication that the church needs to lean into more? Or is this just something of the reality that we're in and it's not necessarily ideal?
I don't know that. Well, I don't know is a great answer in itself.
Yeah, no. And I'm not expecting you to have a perfect answer because this is us just talking.
Yeah.
I'm more just thinking, which way do you think it leans more in your mind?
I don't know that I can answer that either, because I here's the thing. I don't think that this might sound like it contradicts what I just said earlier about the church.
No.
But
we're talking.
Yeah, I don't think that the way we've been doing church up until this point is the ideal.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think we've done it for, I don't know. I think that we're due for a shift, COVID or not.
Yep. Well, you and I talked about
and again,
this.
yeah.
We had talked about this.
Yeah.
Before COVID.
You know, again, I think, you know, gathering of believers, crucial. I don't know that the way we've been doing it is the best way. You know, with this idea of 4 or 5 songs, a sermon, and communion. You know,
I don't have the exact numbers right now, but what I've been preaching to you is actually my gaming background, and it's with Twitch numbers.
Yeah.
So Twitch just did a live event to launch a new season of a game called Fortnite, which some of you probably have heard before and may not have known. They broadcast the event inside the game so you could join the lobby, but then also Twitch, a platform that literally streams video games and other people watching them, also broadcast. And I think over all the like YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live, and the game itself, they had like 15 million people that watched this game. It beat the last 3 Super Bowls combined in watching at one time on a 3 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So when I hear that, all right, on a Tuesday that you didn't even know was happening, it was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving or the Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So when I hear that, what I've been saying for years is the next generation is being prepped and is learning its communities can exist online.
Yeah.
And that they have deep roots, deep emotions, and deep things. Now, there are short sides to it. I'm not trying to say it's always the ideal thing. And that's where I go, it's a reality.
Yeah.
And it might be an ideal, but there is definitely a part of human interaction that's a part of what a community has to be, right? You can't date someone online before eventually you're like, we should meet up.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't talk to someone across the internet for a long time before you're like, you know what, we should meet. Like, we should hang out. I want to get to know you. And I think that's the part of the thing that I go, this is an ideal way for people to connect, but it's not an ideal way for people to live in community.
Yeah, that's good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I kind of like, I'm not trying to be like both sides of it.
Yeah.
But I'm like trying to go like, if we don't lean into this.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. It's like, I don't know that either one is ideal. I don't know that, you know, I haven't thought about it probably nearly as deeply as you have, being, you know, leading a church in all this. But I know that, like, I can't say either one is ideal because, you know, one, like I've been saying, like, I think the way church has been is do a shift, but I don't think that we can reach the ideal level of community in, you know, the way the church was meant to be if we're all online all the time.
Yeah. I agree with you. And here's what I've been thinking about a lot is when the Super Bowl comes or like a football game on right. I know you're not a huge football fan, but just follow this and track with this.
Yeah, sure.
There was a time when you couldn't really watch the game. You had to be there to see the game.
Yeah.
And that was driving people. They were fans whether they were in the game or not, but they wanted to be there. Then TV came along, right? And it grew the fan base. Yeah. Everybody could still watch the game, be a part of the game, check it, even if they could, but they still wanted to be there. Yeah. If you weren't like, if you're not on your couch, like, nah, I choose the couch. You're just like, this is my only option.
You reach like a new level of fandom if you make it to the Super Bowl.
No one's going, you don't want a sideline ticket to be right next to the team?
No, I'll just rather be on my couch.
I'll just watch it on my phone. Like, no one wants that.
Yeah.
But to eliminate the TV or to eliminate the broadcast on the radio would alienate a whole bunch of people that really enjoy and want to be invested in and would be maybe drawn to come. Yeah. Drawn to show up, drawn to buy a ticket, drawn to get the sidelines, drawn to even maybe go throw a football. And so in my mind, this is the literal like thought process where I'm like, why wouldn't we reach out and connect with this huge group of people, even though it's not the same as the sideline? I'm not trying to describe it the same. I'm not trying to say it's not the same as the stadium, but golly, like there is a love and a connection and people that watch from their couches that cheer louder than the people that are in the stadiums.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no doubt of the usefulness of online. I mean, I think of like missionaries who I would imagine are getting a lot of use out of the internet right now, who can't be in their field with the people that they've grown to love and who they've been ministering to and helping for so long, but who maybe are still able to, through a Zoom call or something, still talk. Thinking of like, video series and conferences that have been great resources to people overseas and or to us from people overseas, and obviously, church online throughout the last 8 months it's been difficult, and it's, not, we've seen that it's not been the ideal, but I mean, a lot of people are figuring out how to do it for the first time.
Yes. And they miss that the game is not going on. I mean, that's the side of it that they're like, well, we don't have any games to watch right now. Like, I get it. I really do. And I'm not trying to pretend that at some point there needs to be a draw to the full ideal of community. And that's my whole point. It's like,
there's got to be some balance.
There's got to be a pull to come in and meet real people and to grow and to be in those discipleship groups. But I just think that, like you said, there was a need for shift where it was all attractional.
Yeah.
It was all the only thing we were doing was blasting across the airwaves to come to our game rather than broadcasting the game and what was being said and what was being shown and using it as real opportunities for people to get a taste of what it would be like to be in the room. And hopefully, because I don't know if the attractional model's dead. I mean, I'm talking to some of my non-Christian friends and they're like, we ain't coming back to like 2022. Like there's no reason I would go to a church because they don't see Jesus. They don't know that it's full life. They don't have that in them yet. And so if that's the truth, that they're going to stay on their couch for the next year, that we can either sit here and twiddle our thumbs or we can go, why don't we just be real and say, hey, we need to get back in the game. And it feels weird. It feels awkward. It's not normal, but this is it. So here's how this conviction has come across. I shared a little bit about this with you. I was trying to figure out where Jesus is in this year. And I know I put you on the spot with these questions a little bit. I gave you like 2 minutes warning. 2 stories that have just stuck in my mind because I just can't get away from Jesus's parables and his stories all the time. I just can't. In Matthew 18, Jesus tells a story about a shepherd that has 100 sheep and he counts them and he's got 99 and one's gone. And there are a lot of shepherds around there. And there's a lot of guys that own sheep that are around there. And there are a lot of people that have been around sheep their whole life. So that makes a lot more sense to them than it did to us. You know, you're like, cool. Like, he's not going to fall asleep tonight. Does he put him over the fence to sleep? Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And then Jesus tells the part of the story that no one would believe.
Yeah.
And that's where he leaves the 99 to go and find the one. And when he finds it, he brings it back and he throws this incredible party because he found this lost sheep. And he says more celebration will take place in heaven when one person is found that was lost. And when I hear that, I just go, Jesus is in the margins. Jesus is far away from the crowds. Jesus is where the individuals that are lost are. That's where he is. Then I read the Good Samaritan. And it's a story where Jesus is basically talking about what the greatest commandment is. And he says it's to love your Lord your God. And the and is actually like singular. Like these two are connected, to love your neighbors yourself. And then some smart butt in the crowd goes like,
freaking Pharisees.
It's like, yo, who's my neighbor? You know, and Mr. Rogers would be like, stand up and be like, definitely not you.
Sing you a song.
But Jesus goes, rather than just directly answer his question and being like the person you hate the most and that you don't value, he just tells them a story, which Jesus always does a great job of letting them find the answer in the truth of the story. So he tells a story about a guy that goes on a trip, gets beat up, a priest, a Levite go by and they see the guy, which is like the 2 higher ups of religion, the people that have followed the rules and are holy in the eyes of the people, cross on the other side and don't help. And then a Samaritan shows up, which, I mean, I don't even know how to label this person so that we would see it. It's like an Afghan person that has transsexual, misguided things, that is black, that, came from Arkansas and has one tooth. I don't know how to describe them in such a way
it's
that would
hard
be,
to put it in that.
that would be in a way that we would know like how much natural, just total depravity in the sense of like how they would look at this person and just go, they're worth nothing. They're worth nothing. They are my enemy. I hate them. I don't want anything to do with them. I don't understand them. They're disgusting. That's the Samaritan in the story. And so when the Samaritan shows up and he helps this guy that's been beaten up and robbed, and he takes him to a hotel, and then he pays for him to be healed, basically, providing the deposit on his room and board and healing. Yeah. He goes, which one showed love? That's just love that the guy's like has to say, whatever. And he doesn't answer Samaritan, which is always like that's the telltale sign of Jesus.
He won't even say it.
He won't say it. He's like the one that helped him. Jesus is like, it's half right. You know what I mean? Like he's like partial credit, But so that just led me to say, like, Jesus cares about the people that are hurting. And Jesus cares about the people that are being hurt, even not on their own doing. And that were just living life and they got taken out. And the scary thing is it's 1% of the sheep. Yeah. And it's the people that are marginalized and seen as the worst. And I just look at this year and I go, I want to be where Jesus is at. And that's with the people that are at risk, the people that are hurting, and the people that are suffering and that have the chance to be really sick. I want to provide and help because that's where Jesus would be. And I don't know what that looks like. For me, it looks like I need to wear a mask more. Yeah. Truthfully. I mean, I've been convicted about that a lot, where I just think that's an easy thing for me to do, to go, regardless of your political views or whatever, or scientific, I just think it displays what Jesus would want. And that is that you value those that are at risk. To me, it means that percentages and statistics that have a really low percentage of people that are being harmed, Jesus still cares about them. Yeah. A lot. And that hurts because I'm like, yeah, but it's like 99% people recover. Oh no. At 99, where have I seen that before? And I know the context of this is salvation, but that's all the more reason to care. Yeah. Is I don't want someone dying alone in a hospital of something that was a 1% chance that now they have eternity at their house. So, for me, looking at what the church needs to look like, the method has to go into where the reality is. And it has to be willing to take that message all the way there. Even if it's uncomfortable, and there's parts of my history of growing up in the church that the thought process of like the most effective ways for people to come to Christ won't be on a Sunday morning, but what we do online, that sounds terrifying to me. I'm like, no way that's the method that Jesus is going to use over the next 10 years. But you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that's what's going to happen. Maybe. How we post, what we say, what we do online. I think that's the place that people are going to either come to know Jesus or not. Yeah. Over the night. I think it's way more likely they're going to come to know him there than in our churches. I think they may find community and the reality may clench with the ideal there and their growth, but where they're going to see him first, where they're going to meet him and that message first, I think the method of online is what's coming. And I don't think it's going anywhere. I think this just sped up the process. I think it was like a few years away from this, then Corona made it happen now. And I think it's just moved the timetable up.
Could be right.
So, that's my opinion. I'm not trying to say, that's it, but I just see myself going, how can I get the message of Jesus into these places that are obviously have 15 million people watching? Yeah. How can I get the message of Jesus into those places? I mean, that's just what I think the church is supposed to be doing. So, dude, I don't know what that looks like though. Like that we talk about all these and like ideals of like what we should do. And then I'm like, well, what do we like to church create a Twitch channel tomorrow? And like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, So it really just comes down to like we're doing this year, this podcast, like we're doing these weeks at Kingsway. We are providing an online experience over the weekend that is separate from our in-person. They're connected. They're the same message, but they are a higher quality, intentional online experience for anybody that chooses to tune in for that platform. And that's our first stab, I think, this whole year of just saying like, no, we could just do in-persons and record it. I think there's something more intentional and special about what the method could look like if we just choose to make it for an online experience.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Any thoughts on that? I mean, I know I just spewed at you for like 10 minutes, but like that's kind of been in me for a while. And I want to hear your comments, you know, like, you know, what are you thinking after I just shared? Like, you change your opinion now? Or you think we're on the same page? You think?
No, I think we're on the same page more than you might think. You know, I mean, I still don't know if the online's the ideal. I don't know if. I mean, it does feel like the most natural thing. Like that's where we went. But I kind of wonder if COVID hadn't happened, if there had been some like think tank of the minds that was just sitting there and like, all right, what shift do we need to make? That's as the church, the global church. You know, I kind of wonder if they would have landed on online or if there would have been something else that would have come out. But I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, you know how these shifts go, right? Like necessity a lot of times, you know, is the greatest inventor.
That's the truth, yeah.
So, you know, I think there's a part of that I think you're absolutely right. And I really, when I say that, I mean like sped things up. I really mean that. Like, you know, we're supposed to have like Skynet and this like Elon Musk internet that's coming at some point. And I really think at that point, everyone in the country has high speed.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's the radio of the future, you know, like everyone can just touch a button.
Yeah.
Here comes the Terminators. So
my name's not John Connor, so I'll be okay.
Well, I want to know your comments online. Click down there, you know, what's the ideal and reality of where we are? Where's this method? What do you think of the next year? If you're young or old, I know that I cherish the moments that I've been in church and I've seen the message preached. I am not trying to underplay the impact that has had in any way, nor do I try to underplay its current need in community building and full life. However, I think we need to be real that there are some new avenues that are opening up that may not feel natural, but are absolutely the current of where things are going, and the method is going to change. And when we say that as a value, these are the types of discussions that it's going to take to find where that message needs to go. Yeah. So thanks so much for tuning in. It's been a good discussion. Hope to see you guys next week. Have a great and glorious day in the Lord. See you later.